July 1947, Roswell, New Mexico. Wreckage found in the desert outside this small town is believed by many to be a UFO.
The question is, are UFOs real? The answer is yes.
For years, controversy has grown about what really happened here that summer night. Now, a decorated ex-U.S. Army intelligence officer has made a remarkable claim. He says that not only are UFOs real, but that the U.S. military harvested advanced technology from them. He knows this, he says, because he held the technology in his hands and saw alien bodies from the Roswell crash.
A humanoid-type body came from the Roswell area where there was a crash in 1947.
Why should we believe him? Because of the man that he was, the years of service that he dedicated to the United States of America, and the fact that he was considered one of the top military men in his field.
Who is this person? What did he do in the past? What were the things that he has said in the past that have come to fruition?
According to Lieutenant Colonel Philip Corso, he was responsible for bringing alien technology to military labs and civilian scientists. And they used it to make lasers, fiber optics, integrated circuits, night vision image goggles, and bulletproof vests.
We are looking at crashed flying saucers, or ones that are shot down, and we're trying to figure out how they work.
Others are skeptical that alien technology jump-started the military-industrial complex.
That's a peculiar kind of lack of self-confidence in human ingenuity.
I found that Philip Corso wasn't telling the whole truth about a number of things.
Is Philip Corso's story the fantasy of one ambitious intelligence officer? Or does he confirm that a UFO did crash at Roswell in 1947, and that it launched a secret military program to push alien technology into mainstream development? Summer 1947. Major Philip J. Corso is on patrol at the Army base at Fort Riley, Kansas, when he encounters something that will challenge everything he knows about heaven and earth. Corso was a career military man, a respected intelligence officer, and an artillery commander with his finger on the nuclear button. But inside a crate in a deserted building, Corso swore was a being from another planet. Corso would publish an account of this and other revelations in a book called The Day After Roswell, a New York Times bestseller when it came out in 1997.
In one of his book signings, 5 colonels came to him and it's verified that my father was right on with everything that was written in the book.
Corso died in 1998. But the material he presented in his book is still controversial. Now, for the first time, the full story of his military career and his startling UFO allegations are being told on television. 1942, the year after the Pearl Harbor attack. Philip Corso, a small-town boy from Pennsylvania, is drafted into the Army. During World War II, he trains as an intelligence officer, and afterward, at the age of only 29, Corso becomes a spy hunter in Rome. His mission, to seek out and terminate Soviet agents.
When the United States Army occupied Rome, what they wanted to do was make sure that the post-war government would be a friendly government, not a communist government.
A position with a lot of authority behind it. The man was regarded as an up-and-comer.
By April of 1947, Corso returns to the United States for additional training at the U.S. Army's Intelligence School at Fort Riley. 3 months later, in July 1947, comes that fateful night when he claims he has the encounter that shakes him to his core. 32-year-old Corso is the post-duty officer, an assignment that puts him in charge of security at the base. That evening, Fort Riley is buzzing with rumors. 5 trucks containing debris from a mysterious aircraft accident in Roswell, New Mexico, have arrived at the base in Kansas. Corso, with his training as an intelligence officer, is intrigued by the shipment. At about 11 p.m., Corso says he enters the building where the Roswell shipment is stored. A guard on duty tells Corso that he has already looked into one of the crates making up the shipment and cannot comprehend what he's just seen. Corso then says he has a look for himself.
And he sees these, they look like coffins. They're little, they're like kid coffins. Can't figure out what that is. So he goes and he picks up the tarp.
It looked like a thin body, and a humanoid with a sort of a big head on it and eyes, but not too long, and not the shape of it was not as wide, as I say, as our bodies are.
Corso says this was his first encounter with extraterrestrials, but it would not be his last, nor his most significant. Later, he would be given top-secret files and alien artifacts that, he claims, would generate a new technological world order. But in 1947, that day was still a decade away. The outbreak of the Korean War in 1950 puts a hold on Philip Corso's ruminations on extraterrestrial beings. Corso joins General Douglas MacArthur's staff as an artillery targeting specialist for UN forces. After the 1953 armistice, he remains in Asia, serving as an intelligence officer, repatriating American and Allied prisoners of war.
I came to know Phil Corso because he had been a special projects officer in the Far East Command for prisoners of war under MacArthur, and then later held the same role and capacity for the National Security Council as a staffer in the Eisenhower White House.
According to his military records, in July of 1953, Corso is promoted to the rank of lieutenant colonel. He says he is a trusted advisor to President Dwight D. Eisenhower, informing him of what Corso asserts is rampant KGB infiltration within the CIA.
And Corso was screaming about this in the National Security Council to Eisenhower.
Corso states that Eisenhower rewards him with his own combat command. In 1957, military records confirm Corso is placed in charge of an artillery battalion at Red Canyon Missile Range. By October of that year, Corso commands the battalion in West Germany, where he develops new targeting strategies for nuclear strikes.
He's shown he can do the one thing, he'll follow orders, but he's shown initiative.
He had sole command of a nuclear weapons battery. Now, in the event that war would have broken out with the Soviet Union in the 50s, when Corso was in Germany, he would have had sole authority to release his nuclear weapons.
But after Corso returns from Germany, his career dramatically changes direction. The gifted intelligence officer, fearless spy hunter, and artillery commander who controlled the world's most powerful weapon now becomes a reservist in the National Guard. In October of 1960, Corso is virtually in retirement, a part-time unit advisor to a National Guard base in Maryland.
You could say it meant that some people were displeased with him, but it's just as easy to say he didn't have what it takes.
But Corso's supporters believe Corso is being groomed for his most important and most secret assignment.
Now there is a big green hand running his career. That big green hand is the hand of Arthur Trudeau.
Philip Corso has a powerful mentor in Lieutenant General Arthur Trudeau. A West Point graduate, class of 1924, Trudeau quickly gains a reputation as a forward-thinking officer, comfortable with high technology. In the Cold War era, he pioneers technological training for intelligence officers, and by 1958 is named Director of Army Research and Development.
When Trudeau gets a chance to appoint a deputy, he brings Corso over, and thus begins Corso's stint in Army R&D.
General called me and said, "Don, established Foreign Technology Division, and you're the chief of it. And you got an office down next floor under me."
Through this point in his career, Corso's Army job history is easily verified by examining military records.
Look, he did work in the Pentagon. His office was there. I have the roster. And he worked for General Trudeau, and he certainly knew him well. There's no question about that.
But after his Pentagon appointment, the paper trail of his career is harder to follow, and his assertions more difficult to confirm. Corso wrote that his Pentagon job entailed analyzing foreign military hardware, such as helicopter armament developed by the French, or the British military's vertical takeoff and landing fighter. Then the technology would be reverse engineered.
The military has had, over the years, a number of projects where enemy technological devices have been recovered by American forces.
So one of Corso's jobs was to get this foreign technology, this French technology, and reverse engineer it.
And then if they had something good, fed into our own technological timeline.
Reverse engineering plays a significant role in the spycraft of the Cold War era. The Soviets used captured American Sabre jets to reverse engineer U.S. technology, and the U.S. captured Soviet MiGs to reverse engineer Soviet technology. But if Corso's routine job involves examining technology from abroad, his task would soon change. Sometime after July 20th, 1961, Corso claims that General Trudeau calls him into his office and gives him an astounding directive. Examine technology captured from the 1947 alien spaceship crash in Roswell, New Mexico. Trudeau has a filing cabinet delivered to Corso's Pentagon office. Inside, Corso says, is proof positive of aliens visiting Earth and alien technology that Corso insists he will use to change the world. In 1947, Philip Corso claimed to have seen alien bodies from the infamous UFO crash near Roswell, New Mexico. Corso's description is consistent with those who claim to be eyewitnesses to the crash. The aliens, according to these witnesses, were 4 small human-like beings with 4-fingered hands, thin legs and feet, an oversized head, and large almond-shaped eyes. These descriptions purportedly appear in these classified documents prepared by government investigators. To this day, the documents have not been authenticated. Corso insists that he told no one about what he saw at Fort Riley. But in the summer of 1961, the 46-year-old lieutenant colonel is assigned to a Pentagon project that will force him to recall his eerie experiences.
He was assigned to the Army's research development at the Pentagon. Once again, a position with a lot of authority.
His goal? To advance U.S. military superiority by a factor of decades.
We had enough sense to push it. We had the organization, and we had the money, and we had the brains to do it, and we did it.
During the Cold War era, Corso says, there was great government concern that the Russians would gain access to the alien materials. Or worse, the aliens would use their superior technology to invade Earth. According to Corso, an ordinary filing cabinet contains the extraordinary artifacts of the Roswell crash. A piece of super strong metallic cloth. Corso contends it may have protected the alien pilots in their spacecraft. A tube that appears to shoot a searing red light. Corso thinks it might be a surgical instrument or a weapon. An alien-made headband that, according to his military reports, might have been used to transmit thoughts or control the alien craft. An imprinted set of miniaturized circuits, perhaps a prefabricated microcircuit. A flexible wire that might have transmitted light through its interior. And a lens that could allow anyone to see in the dark, supposedly taken from the eye of an alien being. To better understand the puzzling contents of the filing cabinet, Corso claims to immerse himself in classified government documents reporting on alien technology supposedly found at Roswell. According to the reports that Corso claims to have read, some of the world's foremost scientists, men like Wernher von Braun and J. Robert Oppenheimer, have access to the Roswell crash site. Corso says that Lieutenant General Trudeau greenlights him to assemble his own A-list team.
You will put on that team anybody that you want. Engineers, scientists, and even I told the Germans. Told them I'll take a couple of Germans too, in addition to the U.S. scientists.
Corso claims that based upon his close readings of the Roswell reports, he developed his own theories about how the alien craft may have functioned.
What Corso said was that the spacecraft had a way to jump. It didn't fly from wherever it came from to here, it jumped. And he said that's all they knew, that there was a wave around the spacecraft that allowed it somehow not to be a spacecraft, but a time machine. And the reason is that to travel the kinds of vast distances it had to travel, it had to leave what we understand in physics as a space-time continuum, drop out of that, and suddenly reappear in a new spot.
In Corso's personal notes are sketches detailing his concepts. Corso speculates that the alien craft is navigated by a mind control interface fitting the alien cranium.
It seemed as though by revolving the headband around the alien brain drawings, you would match up the pickups on the headband with various parts of the alien brain.
His background research complete, Corso maintains he is ready to move on to the next phase, distribution. He will hand off the alien technology he says comes from Roswell to appropriate defense contractors for development.
Try to imagine what would happen if a spaceship crashed on Earth and there was a fabulous piece of technology and somebody like Corso pulled it out and gave it to research labs and said, here guys, figure out how this works.
The result, Corso maintains, will lead to a complete reconfiguring of the world's most advanced technologies. In the early 1960s, America's military might is directed toward fighting the Cold War. Lieutenant Colonel Philip Corso wants to bring alien technology from Roswell into the fray. By the end of the summer of 1961, he maintains that he begins to contact military weapons labs about his alien artifacts.
Now, the Army laboratories also had civilian scientists there, And they developed this relationship of handling classified material. Phil Corso felt very comfortable working through the Army laboratories to the civilian scientists because the clearances were all taken care of by the laboratory.
America is dotted with top-secret high-tech labs where civilian scientists work on sensitive military projects. Los Alamos, home of the Manhattan Project, is perhaps the most famous. But in 1961, Fort Belvoir in Virginia is quietly working on a decade-long project to develop night vision engineering. Corso claims he makes this lab the first he approaches with alien technology.
In order to get these things reverse engineered properly, you couldn't just take this to a Radio Shack. I mean, it had to go to a place where somebody would understand the technology.
According to Corso, Roswell eyewitnesses report that the alien craft has image-intensifying technology. If one went inside the ship and looked out, the world outside would look as bright as day, even at night. There is also, according to Corso, a lens taken out of an alien's eye that has light-enhancing properties. No one knows how the two are related, says Corso, but he knows their potential value. Corso maintains that by the late summer of 1961, he helps researchers at Fort Belvoir by showing them the alien light-enhancing lens and possibly other light-enhancing technology from the Roswell craft.
This was the kind of technology that, although we think we have a very clear line of development going back to the Second World War, we take a look at how this technology has literally geometrically exploded over the years. Now, can this be attributed to this technology that was picked up at Roswell, according to Corso? Well, according to him, it can be.
Philip Corso, he was responsible for bringing alien technology to military labs and civilian scientists. And they used it to make lasers, fiber optics, integrated circuits, night vision image goggles, and bulletproof vests.
We are looking at crashed flying saucers, or ones that are shot down, and we're trying to figure out how they work.
Others are skeptical that alien technology jump-started the military-industrial complex.
That's a peculiar kind of lack of self-confidence in human ingenuity.
I found that Philip Corso wasn't telling the whole truth about a number of things.
Is Philip Corso's story the July 1947, Roswell, New Mexico. Wreckage found in the desert outside this small town is believed by many to be a UFO.
The question is, are UFOs real? The answer is yes.
For years, controversy has grown about what really happened here that summer night. Now, a decorated ex-U.S. Army intelligence officer has made a remarkable claim. He says that not only are UFOs real, but that the U.S. military harvested advanced fantasy of one ambitious intelligence officer? Or does he confirm that a UFO did crash at Roswell in 1947, and that it launched a secret military program to push alien technology into mainstream development? Summer 1947. Major Philip J. Corso is on patrol at the Army base at Fort Riley, Kansas, when he encounters something that will challenge technology from them. He knows this, he says, because he held the technology in his hands and saw alien bodies from the Roswell crash.
The humanoid-type body came from the Roswell area where there was a crash in 1947.
Why should we believe him? Because of the man that he was, the years of service that he dedicated to the United States of America, and the fact that he was considered one of the top military men in his field.
Who is this person? What did he do in the past? What were the things that he has said in the past that have come to fruition?
According to Lieutenant Colonel Phil, everything he knows about heaven and earth. Corso was a career military man, a respected intelligence officer, and an artillery commander with his finger on the nuclear button. But inside a crate in a deserted building, Corso swore was a being from another planet. Corso would publish an account of this and other revelations in a book called The Day After Roswell, a New York Times bestseller when it came out in 1997.